Okay, let's go. Welcome into Philadelphia 76ers Now by Chat Sports. I'm Chase Sr. Draft day tomorrow, but right now we're focusing on some hot Sixers rumors because there's so much going down and being reported on this basketball team. Here's what we're chopping it up and talking about today. Sixers considered the favorites to land P.J. Tucker in free agency. Matisse Thybulle is getting shopped, and are the 76ers looking to trade for Eric Gordon with the Houston Rockets? Of course, Daryl Morey used to be running the Houston Rockets, and he's in on a couple of players who he was the general manager for back a couple years ago when James Harden was playing really good basketball. So we start off with P.J. Tucker to Philadelphia. Is it going to happen once free agency starts a week from tomorrow, actually, on Thursday? According to reports, Sixers are pursuing him, and the interest between Tucker and the Sixers and Tucker is mutual. So it first started with Keith Pompey at the Philadelphia Inquirer. Then we'll get to what Marc Stein had to say. First, Pompey. Morey is pursuing former Houston power forward P.J. Tucker, league sources confirm. Sources have also said the Sixers are looking to make a three-team deal that could involve Matisse Thybulle and the number 23 pick in the 2022 NBA draft to create cap space to sign him. Sources have said the Sixers are attempting to trade Tobias Harris as well, but they're having a tough time getting teams to take on his lucrative contract. Lastly, from Pompey, it became public on Monday that Tucker would opt out of a $7.5 million player option for next year with the Miami Heat to become a free agent. Multiple sources have the Sixers intending to offer him a 3-year, $30 million contract at 37 years old. Now, if you ask me, I think that's a hefty price for P.J. Tucker, but basically Daryl Morey is going all in to try to bring a championship back to Philadelphia for the first time since the early 80s. So if you want the Sixers to sign Tucker, I want you to hit that thumbs up icon and like the video. If you don't want the Sixers to sign P.J. Tucker, I want to hear from all the Philly Bulls in the comment section right now and let me know why you don't want them to ink him to a deal in free agency. Now, you look at what Tucker did with the Miami Heat last year en route to the Eastern Conference Finals. 7.5 points per game. He's a really good rebounder, gave you about a steal per game a night, and he knocked down about 41.5% of his three-point opportunities. And we know with P.J. Tucker, oftentimes he camps out in the corner, and he is an excellent defender, as we're about to talk about. Now, what's interesting is that Pompey had what he had to say about P.J. Tucker. Then Marc Stein on Wednesday said this: if Tucker is prepared to leave Miami, Philadelphia is regarded as by far the favorite to sign him away. And then he went on to say the same figures as Pompey did, 3-year deal worth around $30 million in free agency to link him back up with Daryl Morey as well as James Harden. Now, here's what P.J. Tucker would be able to bring to the Sixers. First of all, and what I highlighted back a couple weeks ago when I put together the perfect Sixers offseason plan, that included signing Tucker so that this team could become a lot more mentally tough. They certainly need that. And we know that Tucker is a dog. We know that he's a foxhole guy. We know that he doesn't back down from any challenge. He will guard Jason Tatum. He will get up in the grill of Giannis. He will try to stick Kevin Durant and be a nuisance in doing so. He would bring to the Sixers much-needed toughness. We have seen this team mentally collapse because they're mentally soft in the playoffs time and time again. Really good floor spacing as well around Joel Embiid as he knocks down three-point shots, and he was able to hit nearly 42% of those makes last year. Big-time playoff experience as well. It seems as though every team that Tucker signs on with, whether it be the Milwaukee Bucks, back in the day with the Houston Rockets, last year with the Miami Heat, they make deep runs in the NBA playoffs. Last year, he helped the Bucks win a championship. Lockdown defense, going up against some of the best offensive players in the league, and he is an absolute dog. I also love his story. He goes to Texas, he's in the NBA for a year, plays internationally for a little while, carves out a role to get himself back in the NBA, and he's been playing very, very well ever since then, being a championship player. You know what's also funny, too, is that Embiid, after they were ousted in the playoffs by Miami, had been very complimentary of P.J. Tucker. Hashtag tampering? No, I'm just kidding, but we know it always happens at the NBA level. Embiid said this about P.J. You look at someone like him, great player, but it's not about him knocking down shots. It's about what he does, whether it's on the defensive end or rebounding the basketball. You look at, obviously, defensively, he plays with so much energy, believes that he can get from point A to point B, and he believes that no one can beat him, and he's tough. He's just physical, and he's really, really tough. This is the most noteworthy part of what Embiid said about Tucker, and it goes back to the Sixers needing that mental toughness come the guts of the game in the playoffs. I'd be lying if I said that we've had those types of guys. Nothing against what we do have. It's just the truth. We never had a PJ Tucker. That's really what I'm trying to say. So I think physicality, especially once you get to the playoffs or the later rounds, you need that. You need those guys that are really tough. PJ Tucker won't be a flashy offensive player. He's not going to put the ball on the deck. He's not going to be a guy who gives you 10, 15, 20 points per night, but he makes championship-level plays, gives you really good defense, and for Embiid, much-needed floor spacing. Most importantly, though, he gives you that Jimmy Butler type of mental fortitude, and he gives you balls in the playoffs when the Sixers have lacked that. Now, if the Sixers sign PJ Tucker in free agency, if they end up making a pick in the NBA draft, if they make any moves throughout the offseason, or if there's a big news or rumors item, we have you covered right here on the channel. Make sure you hit that red subscribe button down below or go to youtube.com/76erstv. We continue to grow like crazy. Join the movement here at Chat Sports. Coming up next on the show, are the Sixers in on Eric Gordon, and is Matisse Thybulle getting shopped? Also some news on James Harden from Adrian Wojnarowski as far as his opt-in and what that future contract might look like. But on our main Chat Sports YouTube channel on Thursday, myself and Harrison Graham will be live for both rounds of the 2022 NBA Draft, breaking down all 58 picks. They're usually 60, now 58 because the Heat and the Bulls got hit with those tampering charges. But either way, we'll be live 2 hours before the draft, starting at 6 o'clock Eastern, 3 o'clock Pacific. We'll be live after the draft for draft tracker as well as draft grades. You don't want to miss it. youtube.com/chatsportstv. Join the main Chat Sports YouTube channel family of nearly 300,000 subscribers. Actually, we just eclipsed that number. Okay, now to Eric Gordon. Here's what he said. Here's what Brian Windhorst had to say about Eric Gordon. Keep an eye on the Houston Rockets. They've already done one deal this offseason. Look for a bit of an Eric Gordon sweepstakes in play. A couple of teams that I've heard interested, the Philadelphia 76ers and the Phoenix Suns. You have Chris Paul looking for a reunion with his former teammate there. So the Suns, maybe the Sixers, in on Eric Gordon. And last year, he was a pretty good player. I tweeted this out on my Twitter page, @Chase_Senior, back on Tuesday, saying that Wendy had reported this, and a lot of people had responded and said, Chase, I would have been interested in this if it was a couple years ago. Given Eric Gordon's age at 33, it's a little bit of a concern that he's getting a little bit older, and he's missed a lot of games recently. You look at the chart here, 2018-19, 68 games played. Even in the shortened COVID season, 2019-20, 36 games played. Then 2 years ago, 27 games, and this past year, 57. But if the Sixers get the version of Eric Gordon that the Rockets got last year, where he started a lot of games and also came in off the bench, it's a pretty good player for a win-now team trying to get a championship. 13.5 points per game, little less than 3 assists. You're not asking him to do that. He can put the ball on the floor just a bit, but he connected on 47.5% of his shots. Most importantly, 41% from beyond the arc. Has that familiarity, like PJ Tucker has, with James Harden, and they worked well around the beard. So Daryl Morey maybe trying to make James Harden happy, as well as Joel Embiid, and bring in some players, as well as the influx of youth talent like Tyrese Maxey, and we'll see what happens with Matisse Thybulle, to have a nice little blend on this roster. 33 years old, injury concerns are a big concern. He's also pretty expensive. Next year, base salary of $19.5 million. I want to hear from you once more in the comments section. Rate your level of interest in Eric Gordon on a scale of 1 to 100. 1, don't want him. 100, really, really want him. Let me know in the comment section right now. As for the latest on Matisse Thybulle, as well as James Harden, Kyle Neubeck, Philly Voice with this. Woj on ESPN's mock draft just now. If you're a general manager who hasn't gotten an offer from the Sixers involving pick number 23 and Matisse Thybulle, quote, you probably have had your phone shut off. We know that Daryl Morey is a wheeler and dealer. We know that he's really aggressive, and with his timeline, he's trying to win titles. That's really what it comes down to. Ideally, I'd like to hold on to Matisse Thybulle. He's expensive because he's a former first-round pick. He is a 2-time all-defensive player, especially this past year where I thought he even took more strides on the defensive end. My problem with Matisse Thybulle, I like him because he's young. I like his potential. I love his defensive ability. He's allergic at hitting three-point shots, especially in the playoffs, and teams were treating him like Ben Simmons. They backed off and they said, we dare you to knock down a three. Matisse Thybulle wasn't able to do it. If he can become a 35 to 40% three-point shooter, he could be one of the more valuable pieces on a championship team. We'll see what happens, but that is the predicament that the Sixers are in with Matisse Thybulle. As for the latest on James Harden, this coming from Woj. Harden is headed toward opting into that $47 million player option and then extending by perhaps as many as 2 years at a significant number with the Sixers. Likely something short, of a max contract, but still a significant commitment. This is the best case scenario when it comes down to James Harden opting in. He opts in, he signs a short-term deal. If Harden wants a long-term deal, the Sixers are screwed. They'd be paying him on a max deal $50 million for a guy late in his 30s who's already lost a little bit of a step. James Harden, my message for you, you're an all-time great player, an all-time offensive player, one of the best offensive players that we have ever seen. If you want to continue to be at the top of your game and play an elite brand of basketball and extend your prime years to a certain degree, because we know the vision is special, we know the all-around basketball IQ on the offensive end is special, we know that you can put big points up in bunches. If you want to extend your prime years, you got to lose 15 to 20 pounds. Hit up Chris Paul, see what his vegan diet is all about, because you need to lose weight and you need to gain at least half that step back, because he was certainly missing it in the playoffs, and that was a problem for Philadelphia. And if you're paying him a lot of money in the future and he's clearly washed, that's a big problem, a very, very big problem. Now, again, make sure you subscribe to the channel. If you are, type gang in the comment section. When the Sixers make a move in the draft or free agency, we got you covered, my homies. So smash that red John down below. That is that subscribe button, or plug in that link, youtube.com/76erstv. Appreciate all of you for watching today's show.